Welcome to PhD&D on YouTube. This is Moving Forth, another installment in a series where I discuss Dungeons & Dragons 4th edition, problems, fixes, all of it. Tonight's going to be kind of random on topics. The specific 4th edition topic that will be covered will be implements, however. Now, first off, I'm going to put a link down in the description below to an article written by SlyFlourish. I think it was written today or yesterday. And it was posted on criticalhits.com if you've ever checked that out. That's an interesting website for RPGs and things of that nature. But it's a great article, especially for, I believe, viewers of this specific series I do, because it talks about how 4th edition is not dead, and it gives some good insight there. SlyFlourish has always put out great stuff on how to improve D&D 4th edition, along with tremendous role-playing, tips and ebooks that don't just apply to 1 edition. So I'll put that below. Worth checking out if you got time, though. I thought it was a good article. My thoughts on 4th edition on the next edition of D&D I'm going to give real quick, because I haven't yet. And that would be that I enjoy 4th edition. Honestly, I do. I know a lot of people don't. I know a lot of people don't like mechanics of it. There was politics with it, some crazy stuff. And I don't fault anyone for that. Everyone's going to have their own opinions. They're going to like what they like, dislike what they dislike. I approached 4th edition with almost with a childlike wonder, just not expecting something so great, but just in awe, trying to love every minute of it. And I think that's why I ended up liking it as much as I did compared to most people. I didn't go into it from a critical standpoint. I wasn't analyzing anything. I was just like, how do I absorb this and play this edition? I want to know all this right now. And so that's how I approached it, and that's why I think I like it so much. So I haven't honestly started the D&D Next playtests at all. I've briefly looked at them, which is hardly saying anything. I haven't actually read through the rules or anything. I'm intrigued. I want to see where it goes, and I'll hopefully end up playing it at some point, just to experience it anyways. But for right now, I have a 4th edition campaign running, and I want to try to make the most out of that while I'm playing it. We've talked in my group about what we're going to do next. As far as when this campaign's over, are we going to go with D&D Next? Are we going to try a Pathfinder? Are we going to go with some other game? We don't know yet. We're just going to see how this goes, finish ours out, and we love 4th edition. We've made a good game, and I believe a game it's all about the experience you can have with it, and we've had great experiences. So that's my 2 cents real quick, just to throw that in. I know I haven't said that on anything else, and I kind of wanted to, because I truly do enjoy this edition. So moving on, implements was requested. A quick talk about implements. I'll kind of go over, the mechanics of implements, their purpose, and then quickly give a little bit on how we deal with implements in my campaign. So I have the book, and I apologize, I'll look down. I'm not going to read out of the book. I don't like when people do that either, but I want to make sure I don't miss any of the original categories of implements. So let me get there real quick. Implements are basically, in 4th edition, they're a type of item to enhance some type of powers or abilities. They're not necessarily necessary. That's interesting. But for instance, you don't need to have an implement for a lot of classes that can have implements. It's not mandatory. But take, for instance, a holy symbol. First category. This is a representation of a deity that your character follows, and it can add an enhancement bonus to powers, like a cleric, for instance. You don't have to have a holy symbol, but it can aid in a lot of your powers if you do. So it can be a representation of the deity. Holy symbols specifically don't have to be held. They can just be worn like a necklace of some sort. I have 3. This is a name of a player character. His name is 3, and he's a Warforged cleric. I believe my player actually stole it from an actual storyline, but he has a holy symbol, basically, that he fashioned, and a lot of my players have done this, and you've probably heard it somewhere. They fashioned it into a hilt for his sword. He's actually got his holy symbol as the hilt of his, I don't know what sword he has. And that was really cool when they started it. My characters have kind of run away with that. A couple of them have done it, and now it's not near as cool in my opinion. That's subject for another time. But holy symbols don't necessarily have to be held. They can be worn, and they can enhance powers, especially through certain deities that you have. Keep in mind with holy symbols, if you have 2 of them or more, none of them are working at that time. If you are wearing 2 of them, so if you've got a holy symbol of Bahamut, holy symbol of Pelor, just hanging around your neck, not working. Neither of the bonuses technically apply. That is 4th edition specific mechanics. Obviously, you can do what you want within your game. So keep that in mind. Move on to the next one real quick. Orbs. An orb is usually some type of glass or some type of sphere, like an orb, obviously, where you're going to have mystical mists and smoke inside, light, colors moving about. And orbs can be used by different classes. They're heavy. They are, they're very mystical looking. I often think of, and it's not spot on, but I often think of in Lord of the Rings when they find Saruman's ball. I apologize, I forgot what they call it, but like that on a smaller scale. Something that's creepy, just mystical, and holds a lot of power within it. And that can also enhance abilities for classes that can use that as an implement. So you can use an orb as an implement. Your character can hold that orb up while they're chanting spells to cast down at their enemies. Something along those lines. So orbs, I haven't seen any used. I guess I should say I haven't seen them commonly used, but they're another one out there. Keep in mind, with implements, you cannot use them as a melee attack in 4th edition. That's another thing that I sort of disagree with, and that falls along the lines of, you can do whatever you want in Dungeons & Dragons. If my character wants to throw his holy symbol or hit somebody on the head with it, I'm going to find a way to make that happen. But 4th edition specific rules, if you want to know it, say you cannot use them as a melee weapon. Next up, we head over and cover staffs. Now, staff is different. Staff can be used as a melee weapon. I believe as a quarterstaff, because that's an actual melee weapon you can acquire. Now, a staff, like I said, can be used as a melee weapon, but also, one second here, staffs, you have to be able to use them with your class. There are a lot of wizards. You think Gandalf immediately. Gandalf, boom, staff. I think it's one of the coolest implements you can use as a wizard. I don't like wands specifically. We'll talk about those in a second. But a staff, a big staff, big wooden staff or of some sort with some design on the end, and that's what can really make it yours. For my characters, you want a staff, draw the staff. I want to be able to see the staff as a DM. I want to see what you're picturing here, what you're carrying around. You don't just want to carry around a piece of wood. That's, in my opinion, that's lame. Put a little more into it. Let me see the picture of the staff. Even if you're not a good artist, you can draw a staff. So that's my quick thoughts on staffs. A rod is a cylindrical shape, a little heavier, made of various metals perhaps, and inscribed with runes of some sort or ancient eldritch wordings on there. And they're really cool in my opinion. You're holding up this rod of power, kind of like that. I don't think I have anything similar to one around here. This is the rod of TV changing. But anyways, I think they're really cool. Those can be used also by wizards, classes that are allowed to use them. You cannot use them as a melee, though, again, like most implements. Moving on to the last one, my least favorite, but in 4th edition, there's actually a lot you can do with it, and that is a wand. Why I don't like wands? They remind me of Harry Potter. I have no beef with Harry Potter. It's just very separate from how I view fantasy setting wizards. I am more in the mindset of Gandalf versus, Dumbledore. And that's a huge debate between a lot of my friends, by the way. If you got input, let me know. But nothing against Harry Potter. I think it's a great series, great literature. I haven't actually read the entire thing, honestly. But it takes me out of what I like about fantasy for whatever reason. So that's why I stay away from wands. Not that I don't let players use them. None of them choose to, but the option's out there. Now with a wand, You have to be able to use a wand. Your class can talk about that. But wands can also store and encounter power. And there's a chart in the book. You can check that out. It talks about it a little bit. So wands can be very special. They can store like an arcane energy within them. So they are a very cool item if you're into that. It just takes me out of the setting. That's why I don't do them. So that's how to deal with wands. Now, with all those, that's very quick. You can look up all that in the books as well if you want more detail. But the important part of implements is, with a lot of magic items, in my opinion, what's the story? What is, if it's a low-level character and maybe they just get a wand, it's a wooden stick. That's, how do they get to a point where that is a magical item? How do they get to where it's imbued with some sort of magic? Or how do they find a staff? Is this staff carved from this ancient tree that survived, fire from an ancient dragon war or something? Put a story into your magic items. Put a story into your implements, and they're going to be that much more rewarding. 4th edition can come on a bit item treasure heavy, in my opinion, if you don't do that. If every level you're giving characters an implement, you're giving characters a weapon, they just get stuff because they're leveling up. That is lame, in my opinion. But it's easy to fall into that trap with 4th edition because there's so much of that stuff, and it's a system that just readily adapts for items and kind of expects you to get more as you go up. So that being said, just put a story into it, make it fun, make it detailed. If my guys, if I put out a high-level weapon, it's going to be a major quest. It's going to be a historical story of some sort where they're chasing down this ancient. I'm rambling. I'll give you a straight-up example. I put a level 30 Vorpal sword in they were level 24. They couldn't use it because you have to be, I think, level 26 or 27 to even wield it. But I put it in the story. It was used by an ancient hero who had actually been the one to stop this deadly force a long, long time ago that actually destroyed most of the world and left it how it was. But this sword stopped him, and they heard about it. They went after it, and it progressed from there. But there was a lot of detail in it. That's what I'm getting at here. Put detail into your items. That is a big part of 4th edition that most people can miss out on. So don't forget to do that. So that's my 2 cents on implements. You don't need to have them. You gain the enhancement bonuses to attack and damage if you do, and they don't act as melee weapons unless you have a staff. Those are 4th edition specific. Make it your own. Take it. Run with it. That is my rambling for moving forth for this week. And if you have suggestions for next week, please leave them in the comments below or send me a message. And check me out also on Facebook now and Twitter, PhD&D. Send me ideas over that way as well. Thanks for watching, and have a great rest of your night, gamers.